And we are live. We're gonna let this
Here
chat.
we go, baby.
We're gonna let this chat fire up here. First person I see, I will shout out the comments. I see Shay
Yes.
Dolce in the chat. That's awesome.
Shay
Oliver.
Dolce?
Yeah, she
The
wants to
one
know
and
what's up
only.
with the Atlas Cup. So everyone that's
The Atlas
filing in
Cup.
right now, I'm with the great one and only, my co-host, Mitchell Pehlke from the 𝐓𝐇𝐄 Lacrosse Show. Obviously, Mitchell Pehlke YouTube, Ohio State fame. Mitch, you just did color commentary and sideline reporting for the Atlas Cup for USA Lacrosse at their headquarters in Sparks, Maryland. First of all, how you doing? Have you had a chance to kind of recharge?
Yeah, no, 100%. I appreciate you, Kevin. Always love kind of diving in with you. You're my guy with this. And I feel like we're missing a little bit, half of the crew right now with Hoagie and Dukes. But no, I mean, Atlas Cup was an inaugural event where something special to see firsthand is I really got a glimpse of being in the broadcast booth right next to Joe Beninati and doing some social stuff of what LA Olympics is going to look like in 2028. I think that's, to me, the most special aspect is to see 𝐓𝐇𝐄 in prime form, right? To see potentially like the Curse or McNaney in cage for USA, and to see all these kind of factors come together as, you know, this has been something me and you and every other lacrosse fan has been wanting for so long for this sport to be in the Olympics. It's just the start. And USA Lacrosse, shout out to them. They put on an amazing event. It looked like this was so well established. They've been thinking about this for months, and nothing but nice things.
Yeah, I want to shout out some of the people that are here right now. I see Tate says, love you guys. Love you too, Tate. Dashton,
Let's
Zoe.
go, Tate.
I see a bunch of you. Some saying roll Canada. Oh, someone's tuning in from Germany. So
Like
who were the four teams that were at the Atlas Cup this year?
So it was Canada, it was the United States, it was Puerto Rico, and it was Haudenosaunee. So there was obviously four. In the Olympics, it's going to be six. Next year, they'll have another sort of event where it'd be more of a tryout, and there'll be more teams that I can obviously do a ton of paperwork, which is included on the back end, which I didn't realize. A lot of teams have to do a bunch of paperwork. I don't know exactly the aspect of how many teams or how many players on the team have to be from those places exactly, but there's some sort of split. I don't know exactly, but again, teams will compete next year at an event, and only 6 teams will be allowed to play in the Olympics. And again, all these little events are going to be leading up to what is obviously the big aspect, and that's LA in 28.
Yeah, I know all eyes were turned towards LA 28 while you were there. We're going to break it down, talk about more about the Atlas Cup. We're going to talk about the men, Canada beating USA and winning the Atlas Cup. On the women's side, USA doing that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future. But I want all of you in the comment section. I see you guys, Ashton, Coburn. Make sure you're dropping in questions for Mitch. If you have any questions about sixes, any questions about the future, Olympics, USA, Canada, or beyond, Mitch is your guy. He was just on site this past weekend.
Let's go. Ask some questions. And even we might have a little time for a little Q&A at the end. So if you want to get kind of deep and personal with Kevin, the Italian, let's do it.
Yeah, I see Joey Lindstrom in the chat as well. I'm expecting some comments from you, buddy.
Let's go.
So let's dive into it. So Canada defeats USA 23-18. 𝐓𝐇𝐄 was the guy for them, wins the Titan Award, which is the equivalent of the MVP of this event. Mitch, it's a little better than the last time we saw Canada and USA play in 2022 in sixes. That game, Canada won 23-9. So USA doubles their goal output. But what do you think? How do you feel this game was? Was Canada in control the whole time?
Yeah, you could just tell, you know, with the background of the Canadians, you know, a lot of those guys grow up in the barn playing box lacrosse. Some of those guys don't even play field until they get to their school playing Division I lacrosse. You could tell the style of format of lacrosse that they played was far and better than the Americans just from the time in the sport of box lacrosse, from the stick skills inside, from the way they're picking and dodging, even the aspect. And we talked to Andy Shea about this days leading up to the event. And he said one of the biggest factors between USA and Canada is going to be as kids that grew up in the United States, we like to isolate, go behind the cage and kind of go one-on-one. Guys in box lacrosse, if you're a righty, you stay on that right side. You don't go to X and dodge because there really isn't any room. The type of play is so different. I think that's where USA is going to need to take the biggest step on the field, is learning more about how to play in the sixes game. And I think a guy like Connor Schellenberger caught my eye where, you know, had the best season as any, you know, short stick would in the PLL, won the MVP. But at the same time, you don't really see his game correlate as spot on as it would, because, the game in the PLL versus sixes is just so different.
Yeah. And you know what I thought was kind of interesting when we've been talking about sixes, and we've all trying to be figuring this out at the same time, the type of player that's going to dominate. And right at the beginning, especially with Champ Series, we talked about like, oh, it's going to be the two-way midfielder, that guy who can play offense and defense. And yet you look at a team like Canada, and their best players are guys like, sure, they've got those two-way guys, but their best players are guys like 𝐓𝐇𝐄, Willem Firth, who can play that two-man game. They're not defensive studs. They're very, very offensive focused. So I'm curious what you think when you looked at the Canada roster. What was the type of player that looked like that guy's built for sixes versus USA's prototype?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to come down to coaching. What type of offense do they want to run? And then let's tailor that to the athletes, right? You have Trey Leclerc, Alex Marnier, two Buckeyes I played with. Their style of game is let's sweep across the middle and let's kind of look for that 2-point, that long bomb shot. But then you have guys like Firth and 𝐓𝐇𝐄 that are kind of those two-man Canadian specials. And those four people, two of those two people, they play different type of lacrosse. So I think it's going to come down to the coaching aspect of there's not a wrong answer. It's more of what would flow better and what's ultimately going to win games in the offense that you pick. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to depend on the coaching aspect of the type of offense they want to implement, and also, what's going to give them the best outcome. And I think another aspect that I found out leading up to the event, I asked Andy Shea, I was like, hey, coach, how much pressure are you going to put on the guys, or how much pressure are they putting on themselves? And he was like, personally, I don't put a lot of pressure on these guys because I'm not going to be the coach in 2028. And I didn't know that. And in that conversation, he was like, my contract goes all the way until and through the summer of 2027. So after that, they really start to negotiate and have these interviews of really who's going to be that Olympic 2028 sixes coach. And obviously Shea's like, yeah, I'm going to put my hat in the ring again. And he's going to, potentially have some of the best odds to get it, obviously, with just the track record he's had the past 2 years. But that's going to be, in my position, or my point, the hardest aspect of the game. They're going to have to solidify a coach. That coach is going to have to solidify the team and then start to work with, okay, these are my players. What's the offense? What's this all look like? And, to be the first time lacrosse is in the Olympics at 28, like there's a lot of pressure. And there will be no bigger pressure than the coach that's announced for 2028 Olympics will have to win.
I can't see how it's not Shea, just considering sixes is so new. He's the only guy who's coached them through these events. Like, do you really want to just start with a brand new guy right a year before you're about to play sixes for the first time? So I don't know. I got to imagine Shea is going to be the guy on the sideline for Team USA in 2028, but we will see. That contract is looming. Mitch, I wanted to talk to you about some other guys. The all-tournament team consisted of mostly Canadians and a couple of Americans. The Americans that made it were Pehlke, your former teammate, and Matt Brandow. A little surprising because I thought Jack Hanna looked like the most, the best sixes player on Team USA this time around. Willem Firth from Canada, Brett Dobson, and then the only 𝐓𝐇𝐄, of course, the only non-American or Canadian player, Jake Piscino, who's a friend of our show. What stood out to you about any of those guys? Anyone worth highlighting to you?
Yeah, Piscino off the bat. I think the first game he had a hat trick, led his team in points. And I remember walking to the other side of the field, and I'm at the end zone, and I look, and he absolutely sniped a corner. And I think you see this big name that plays LSM, that plays defense in the PLL, and you're kind of more like, all right, this guy will be a gritty two-way guy. No, he was bona fide offensive midi. He was ripping it. I think one game he had north of 5 goals maybe. But he is a guy that, again, from a coaching standpoint and a player film standpoint, you're going into 27 and 28 watching the 2025 Atlas Cup. You're knowing that, okay, Piscino is going to pull up and he's going to shoot it from 2-point range. Piscino for sure. And I think back to your point, Jack Hanna, he had an outstanding performance. He was one of those guys that shocked me the most on USA of just how gritty he played on a defensive spectrum, but also could run the field and obviously what we've seen on an offensive spectrum, indoor, outdoor, and obviously at Denver. So I think there's a lot of talent throughout the field, but guys like Firth, guys like 𝐓𝐇𝐄, really no surprise on the, Canadian side. Brett Dobson, I feel like I could have, Sharpied that in before the event even started with him playing both indoor and outdoor. But look, I think at the end of the day, there's no doubt Canada is going to continuously be that number one team leading into 28. But the biggest thing for Canada in all the teams is who is really going to be hungry during that time, or sorry, not hungry. Who's going to be healthiest? That's the biggest aspect. You saw 𝐓𝐇𝐄 kind of go down with an injury. You saw a couple of these other people kind of get nicked up, and like, I don't know the exact schedule of what 28 is going to look like, but they're going to be there for a week or two, and they're going to be competing, almost every single day. And the aspect of leading up, whoever that coach is going to be, picking that team is going to be tough, because if they have to lock in 11, 12 guys, they're going to have at least 8 more on reserves, because you never know what's going to happen. Pacino just entered the chat. The legend who just got done chatting about you.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, just missed it. But yeah, he was their offensive leader, tied with Colton Marquis for most points for the Haudenosaunee.
Yep.
And then Jack Hanna had the goal of the tournament with the between the legs.
Yes.
It's funny you mentioned 11 or 12, because I heard during one of the broadcasts that they might only allow 11 person rosters for the Olympics. And typically it's 12 for sixes.
Yeah, I think that's true. Obviously, as we continue to figure out this thing, so does guys like Andy Shea and USA Lacrosse, because it's so new. But at the same time, I think the biggest controversy is, are we bringing 1 or 2 goalies? And I'm forgetting the fella's name on Haudenosaunee, but their backup goalie was also one of their midfielders. And is that a play for USA when you do, if you have, let's say, Colin Kearse is in net, and then you're bringing a Blaze Reardon to kind of play both sides, or are you just saying, hey, we're bringing 1 goalie. If that's Kearse, if that's, Entenmann, whoever that is, we're just going to bet on the fact that, hey, never come out of the cage. Don't ever contest for ground balls, because you're only option. Or you bring in 2 goalies. And again, there's so much strategy in this play, and that's what I love it. And I think I realized that the most out of this weekend, broadcasting this event.
Yeah, I think if there's one kind of silver lining for USA fans, it's that, was this the final lineup that we would see if this were the Olympics this year? No Liam Entenmann, no Pat Cavanaugh, no Matt Campbell, who is a Sixes superstar. So there were some late replacements as well on the roster, but we're going to keep it moving. Keep dropping in the comments right now. I see Poolski saying Adam Gittleman did it before. That's right.
Yes.
As a goalie who played midfield.
Legend.
That's right. I see some others. Hudson in the comment section. Keep dropping in your questions for Mitch. Maybe just drop a frog, but let us know that you're
Give
here.
me a couple frog emojis.
Yeah, let's drop some frogs in the chat. But we got to talk about the women. I saw a comment, Faciola, asking for us to highlight this. And don't worry, I've got the graphic ready. USA women sweep the Atlas Cup. Chloe Humphrey adds to her illustrious year and wins the MVP, the Titan Award. So
yep.
I'm curious what you think, Mitch. We're talking about, can USA close the gap on Canada on the men's side? Mm-hmm. I think it's an even bigger, wider chasm on the women's side. Can we just pencil in, can we ink in the USA women to win gold in 2028?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Foss on the sideline, because she was kind of my role for the women's side. She was doing some color. She was also doing some social media. At the end of the day, the biggest thing I took away from her was these other teams, Canada, Haudenosaunee, Puerto Rico, they have talent, but USA beats them on the depth. Any of those players can go out there and run it. I think if I haven't met Coach Monday from USC, but if I did, and whoever has that role in 28, it's again, there's a lot of pressure. You want to obviously be the first coach that's going to win it in USA or the Olympics history. But there's so much talent. It's honestly those players could coach themselves. And I think at the end of the day, the depth that USA Lacrosse has from a women's perspective is so unique, and not other teams can have that ability. I think that's what really sets them apart. I mean, obviously, Chloe Humphrey coming on the scene, a girl that's had probably the best 365 days any women's lacrosse player has ever had. And at the same time, she's new on the scene. And potentially there might be another Chloe Humphrey leading into 2028. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be timing. Some of those older girls, I know Charlotte Nort's still killing it, but some of those older vets on the team, they might be in early 30s, but in 2 years, are they still going to cut it for the best, 11 to 12 girls in the world? And that's a question for the coach, which I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah, well, if the one thing that is good for them, there's no shortage of talent. There will be plenty of incredibly good talented girls that will be fighting for roster spots. I'm shocked when you look at just USA's run on the women's side this year when they won the Pan American Games, they won the Sixes World Games. Going back to last year, they won gold. The team won the first ever box team. And you're like, when USA is picking up box equipment for the first time on the women's side and beating Canada, it's like, okay, there's a problem here in terms of USA is just so far ahead of everyone else in terms of talent on the women's side. But specifically Chloe Humphrey, I think we got to talk about her a bit just because she is taking over. And this is the first time we've seen her on the same stage, I think. Now, maybe the Pan American Games, but this is the first time where she was on the same stage with Charlotte North and wins the MVP. So I thought this was an amazing accomplishment individually for Chloe. And I'm curious whether you sort of see the spotlight shifting. Is she now the biggest star in women's lacrosse already?
I mean, she's definitely getting there. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you ask different ages of different girls, they're going to tell you different answers. But I think at the end of the day, one thing I tell every college lacrosse player, every lacrosse player in general, is you got to continue to market yourself from a branding perspective. Chloe's done a phenomenal job of that, of posting regular on TikTok, not being afraid to put herself out there on Instagram, doing different brand deals. And that's the biggest aspect. I say, look, like you can only have a big name in this sport and only let it go so far if you're just attacking the on-field element. If you want to build your brand, you got to be active on social. It's just where we are in the sport. NBA, NFL, those guys have other different leisure leagues because of how big the sport is. Lacrosse is not one of those. I think Charlotte has done the best job out of any girl to market herself on social media. She's in the booth with Paul Carcaterra. She has a YouTube channel. She's very active on TikTok and Instagram. She has some merch. She does camps. Like, there's not much else you can do. And for Chloe to continue to scale that, and again, I know she just finished her first year, but that is the most important aspect. But from a skill standpoint, it's awfully close, right? I think at the end of the day, like, as you know, and we talk about on MPLS, the league's only getting younger. And that's the same thing on the women's side. So I think at the end of the day, like, it's definitely becoming close. But I think at the end of the day, like, competition's good and healthy. And, like, Charlotte might feel some pressure. She might not. But at the end of the day, it's healthy.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that Charlotte, she built her stardom on that 8-meter. Everyone would tune in and be locked in when she would do that.
Yep.
I think that Chloe Humphrey, maybe Sixes, is that vehicle for her to become a superstar in the sport. To round out the women who made the all-tournament team, again, Chloe Humphrey taking home the Titan Award, but her teammates Charlotte North and Shea Dolce and Net both making the all-tournament team, as well as Erica Evans and Nicole Peroni from Canada and Sierra Cockerell from the Haudenosaunee. So nice little mix there. Anyone else on the women's side that you were impressed or enjoyed getting a chance to talk to?
No, I think at the end of the day, like we always talk about on our show, like women's sixes, I could be your number one fan. I think at the end of the day, like I think it's so exciting. Dukes, I know I said that on purpose, Dukes. I hope you're watching. But no, I think it's just exciting to see, like, truthfully, when I go out and watch a regular college game, I'm not as entertained as if I'm watching women's sixes. And I think that's what a lot of the masses from a viewer standpoint are going to say, because they just love the action. We love the back and forth. And again, to be there on site, to watch it there and to do some social around it, I think the sky's the limit for women's sixes.
Shout out to everyone who has been tuning in today. I'm with Mitchell Pehlke right now. Last chance to get any questions in for either of us.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm curious, any other buzz that you heard on the ground in Sparks, Maryland in terms of Olympics in a few years? Something we should be looking forward to? Anything?
Honestly, nothing too much. You know me, I'm always trying to get some secrets and get some pieces. I thought the aspect of Shea not being the coach was very interesting, and it has nothing to do with him. It's just the terms that whoever has that in state puts. But to go back to your point, like, the Kavanaughs and some of these big players, they weren't on the field because for Shea and for USA Lacrosse as a whole, all these events are essentially tryouts for who that final roster is going to be. USA was there, I think, on Wednesday, 2 or 3 days before the event to have a tryout, and Kavanaughs and these other guys were there playing. But obviously, Shea only took a select few guys because of that aspect that he still wants to try them out. I know Super Sixes in Indianapolis last year, he had a different roster. So for USA, it's an aspect of they're going to continue to get better from an on-the-field standpoint. But I'm just excited. Like, I think a big aspect is going to be who's in the booth for 2028 Olympics. That's NBC, and that's not really a big aspect.
You got them on speed dial?
I would absolutely sideline, color, whatever that looks like. NBC, you let me know. But I think that's going to be an aspect of like what does that look like, right? Because it's going to come down to effect of like they're not really involved in the sport of lacrosse. I know the guys, kind of putting those people in the booth, like they're not around the Pehlke, the 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐀𝐂𝐑𝐎𝐒, the Ryan Boyles all the time. So I'm curious to see who that's going to be myself.
What was it like working alongside the great Joe B?
I mean, he's a legend. I think the aspect of how professional he takes every event is so important to me. As a guy that, and you've probably seen, if I'm around somebody that's older than me or that's great in their profession, I am absolutely peppering them with questions.
Yeah.
And Joe is such a sponge to me. Like, he's answering every question. He is telling me what's right, what's wrong, when to show up, how to dress, how to say, what to say. And the aspect of I love being around him is because I learned. And I think the aspect too is like, we're mid-game. I think it was Puerto Rico versus Haudenosaunee on that Saturday. And we're like about to roll up and finish the first quarter. And he writes down on his note card as he's talking, he's like, stop saying they're looking good. I think I said every sentence, every team, every player is looking good. He's like, you got to stop having these, what he calls crutch words. Just little things like that again, like, as you know, I have like this podcast voice, then I have this social media voice, and to kind of continue to create this broadcasting voice is something that's special to me. And I love the fact that Joe's really not on social media creating content, because he can 100% tell me and give me tips on how to correct this broadcasting voice. So getting any opportunity to work with him, if it's Big Ten, if it's streaming events like this, any opportunity, I never say no.
Speaking of corrections, I'm not sure if it was him or if it was one of the other broadcasters. Someone was introducing you as a Ohio State midfielder. Are we okay with that, or?
I think, what do you think is the proper term for me?
Well, I know you're an attackman by trade, but I know in terms of utility, you were an invert midfielder.
I would love to say Ohio State field player, as what they're referring to these guys as the sixes players. There's no offense, defense. It's, Mac O'Keefe, he plays field. I'm like, all right, interesting. I could have played some D-Mitty back in my day.
Speaking of you and your day, what's going on with you? A lot of fans in the comments. Hudson is here. He's been here throughout.
The legend.
They want to know what's up with you. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know if you're bringing back the college tour this fall. What are you doing?
Yeah, so number one, we just released our Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Experience camps. And we're going up north, down south, and out west. We got about 20 different cities. We might see Kev at an appearance, maybe down south, so stay tuned for that. If you guys want to see Kev there, let's get it going. So we just released our camp. Again, if you're any position from 3rd through 8th grade, we'd love to have you out. And then along with this fall, from a content standpoint, we're going to some colleges. I don't want to say just yet. We're going to have some girls' colleges, some boys' colleges. We're going to continue down that aspect because we want to get inside some of these locker rooms, some of these doors of these big universities, and be able to show you what it's really like to be out there and involved with some of these programs that are competing for national championships. So I'd say a lot of that, a lot more gear-related videos, and maybe some undercover stuff. Stay tuned for that.
Excellent. All right. I see a lot of squids in the chat shouting us out. So I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Mitch, I really appreciate you for spending some time. Went a little longer than I thought, but that's okay. Let us know if you'd like us to do more of these this offseason, this fall, and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Peace out.
Awesome. Peace, guys.